welcome to episode 286 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 17th of June 2024. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
Tasty and meaty Super Max.
Graham.
Something political, hello.
And Will.
Hello.
It's all kicked off since we recorded last. We recorded a bit early last time, and since then we've had a general election announced, and football's started to come home as well. Not so much if you're Scottish. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's get on with the news. World's first RISC-V laptop gets a massive upgrade and equips with Ubuntu, according to Canonical's blog.
I want one.
Do you, though?
Yes. My laptop is from 2013, you have to remember, so there's nothing really going on my laptop bar SSH and the odd browser window. I would take this in a heartbeat. 8 hours of battery life? Oh, yes, please.
Right. Did you read the other links I put in the show notes?
Yeah, Pi 4 speed, whatever. I don't care. Pi 4 is fine.
No, about half a Pi 4.
I'm sure it's just not optimized. I'm sure it's fine.
Okay, what about the fact that it ships with Ubuntu 23.10, which goes out of support when, Graham? Is that next month?
I don't know, actually, but that sounds about right.
Whatever, just do a dist upgrade on the thing, for God's sake.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
The specs on the hardware aren't especially impressive. It's kind of like a phone from a few years ago, let's say. But the unit itself, the laptop, is not especially interesting. What's interesting is that this is the first, let's say, commercially available RISC-V laptop coming with Ubuntu. And so on this day, I think we can say that what will come in the future is going to be much better. We're going to start seeing laptops with RISC-V on them. And I think that's a good and exciting thing.
It is exciting, yeah. I think this particular one isn't very exciting and it's not going to be a daily driver for anyone. But if you're a developer and you want to test RISC-V and you want to kind of push that whole software ecosystem forward, this is a very nice, convenient package in which to do that. And it is the first step, hopefully, in a long road to getting high-performance RISC-V laptops. But I think that we have to be realistic about this particular one, that, believe me, you don't want it failing.
If they want to send me it, it's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah, because there's no pricing yet, but it's probably going to be between $800 and $1,000, which is awfully expensive for the performance that you get. But it's not about that. It's about being a RISC-V laptop to do development with.
So I just got the price link to work, and it says £314.
No.
Get in. Get in.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Send it now.
Right. This has obviously happened recently because when I tried to check, there was no pricing available.
Yeah, so not so smug now, are you? That's 3 times the price of a Raspberry Pi 5 with a case.
Yeah, I think this changes things a lot, actually, because you know how difficult it is to get something you can realistically play with RISC-V, and this falls into that range for me, I think.
Yeah, and play with is the operative word here. It's not something that you're going to be joining work calls with.
Well, it's a perfect excuse to turn the video camera off, isn't it?
It won't work.
Yeah, so I don't have a driver for it.
What it has got, which is quite a nice touch, is a GPIO port on the side of it next to a USB port. So you can tap into 3.3 volts, a serial connection, and a couple of GPIOs and a nice squared C bus, which is a nice addition just for like hobbyists and Arduino fans.
Yeah, I thought that was quite cool. It's a weird format as well. Are they the same kind of edge connectors or whatever they're called, like the 2042 or whatever that Pi that is, the weird stick-shaped one?
I don't know. They look like DuPont spacing, so whatever that is, 2.5 mil or something like that. So I think, if you've got breadboard and a set of standard cables, you'll be able to plug straight into the side of it.
Oh, is it just a wire goes in?
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'd never seen that before. Weird looking. Cool idea, though. Just imagine if you embraced one of those non-GUI desktops and just, all CLI all the whole way. There's lots of apps people have tried out, like to, TUI-based stuff and things. It'd be perfect for all that.
I think it'd still be a bit sluggish, to be honest, but maybe not. Maybe I'm spoiled.
8 hours of battery. That'd be lovely.
I mean, you could just buy an M1 MacBook Air, install Asahi on it.
Yeah, with the firmware you can't upgrade unless you have OS, what's its face on it?
Mac OS, yeah.
I mean, it is whether you want to be open or closed. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But at some point, maybe somebody will throw a spanner in the works or not allow you to update it. Whereas if you go RISC-V, you're starting open from the very start.
But it's the kind of IP you don't even like, Phelim. It's permissively licensed.
It's fine if they are big corporations building stuff.
Well, it's not the only alternative architecture laptop that's created a bit of buzz over the last couple of weeks. Tuxedo on ARM is coming. So Tuxedo is a European company who makes Linux laptops. And it's funny that they are a competitor of Entroware, who is a sponsor and is sponsoring this episode. You won't hear that if you're a patron, of course. So it's worth keeping that in mind when I say that I've not heard great things about the software experience on Tuxedo machines. Like, they've got their own version of Linux and they just like totally bastardized the kernel. I remember on the Ubuntu podcast back in the day, they reviewed one and I don't think it even supported snaps and stuff because they just butchered the kernel on it. But nevertheless, anyway, they have announced an upcoming laptop that's going to be a Snapdragon X Elite SoC, like those Windows machines. And with that SoC, it's going to perform an awful lot better than that RISC-V one, if they ever actually ship this.
Was the buzz you were talking about the noise of jigsaws being used to cut up the laptops because ARM don't like the fact that this exists?
I don't know about this. ARM says it wants all Snapdragon X Elite laptops destroyed. I mean, that's just hyperbole. They're not actually going to do that.
Uh-huh. You sitting in the park typing away, lad runs across the top of your legs with a circular saw, leaving you bleeding to death in the park.
This is down to a licensing dispute and the details are just boring, basically. But it's not going to happen, I don't think. Like, it's, you know, they're just going to end up getting a bit more licensing money for them. This is just a big headline to just generate publicity and, you know, lean on Qualcomm.
I think you're right. I think it's good news for things more like RISC-V. I don't really understand ARM licensing, I must admit. And Qualcomm, I'd say, is a long-term customer. But of course, when you get to this level, none of that actually matters. Same with Apple. So I don't know. It feels like there's always going to be some term that you could pass at some point with ARM. And maybe this is the beginning at looking at alternatives.
Maybe. I don't think we have to think about it in terms of alternatives. As in, like, we won't have ARM, so we need RISC-V. I think it's going to be, we'll have x86, we'll have ARM, we'll have RISC-V. And that will be great because it'll mean choice and it'll mean innovation, hopefully.
I know Lenovo have got their X13S out on Windows and Dell have got a similar one, but none of them run Linux yet. I wonder why that is.
Because it's bloody hard. The X13S is supported upstream now in the kernel, and Ubuntu 24.04 does support it. But it's not 100%. There's like little things here and there that don't quite work as well as on Windows. ARM development is just a nightmare.
And that's why I think RISC-V is the way to go.
I don't think RISC-V is going to be much different, though, because RISC-V is just the ISA, the instruction architecture set, that is open, but you can build whatever you want on top of that, including loads of proprietary bullshit.
There is always that, I suppose.
So there's no reason why the webcam, for example, is going to be open, or even the GPU that goes with the CPU.
Yeah, that is the nightmare of it all, I guess. That's where the beauty of that standardized IBM PC chipset was great.
Yeah, and I don't see RISC-V as this great open thing. Like, everyone sort of gets really excited about it being open, but to me, it's not the fact that it's open. It's just the fact that it exists as an alternative that's exciting. If you want to see what that RISC-V laptop looks like in terms of performance, we can link to a video from Explaining Computers, Chris, who we had on the show a few months ago. He's got a Banana Pi, F3, I think it's called, which has got the same system on a chip. It's only got 4 gigs of RAM, so do keep that in mind. But the performance does remind me of that sort of Pi 2, Pi 3-ish type performance. So, you know, it's adequate for doing a bit of basic stuff, but it's nowhere near daily drivable for things like video calls and general work stuff.
Lots of people are looking for something for RISC development, so it's a perfect platform for that RISC-V development, which is the perfect platform.
Yeah, exactly. And so now you can get these boards or a more convenient laptop form factor. But I think we just need to relax with our expectations on it. It's very early days and it is an exciting first step, but that's all it is for the RISC-V stuff. And the ARM stuff, it is somewhat exciting, but even Asahi has its limitations. It's very hard, this stuff. And it goes back to what you said, Phelim, about IBM specs and all that. we've been spoiled by 20 plus years of x86 and one image that works across 1,000 different configurations or more than that. The most popular Linux news over the past 20 years. This is an article on Phoronix, which is just an excuse, really, to say happy 20th birthday to Phoronix. It's amazing that Laravel has been going so long and produced 44,000 news articles. That's not even including the benchmarks and hardware reviews and shit. That's just the news articles.
I think what he should have done there was do a benchmark of himself beginning and then now, and then to see how wrecked he is after all that.
Yeah.
But he's put together 20 of the most popular news stories by number of visitors. And some of them are really weird, but then others aren't. Like Ubuntu achieves a 50% reduction in start time for the Firefox snap. I can see why that was popular, because that was a big deal at the time.
That one kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't think that would be that big of a deal, but maybe I just didn't realise.
Another one that stood out was Linus Torvalds calls NVIDIA the worst company ever. And that's that famous photo of him sticking the finger up to them. I'm not surprised that's on there at all.
A lot of these stories are also quite old, it seems to me. I wonder what that says about Linux, tech news, or Phoronix.
Well, it tells me that they have a long tail, that people keep clicking on them years and years and years later. It's sort of what you'd expect, really. It's like our episodes. You know, most of the downloads come straight away, but then they have a very long tail where there's a couple of people a day or whatever downloading them. And so over years and years and years, they end up being the most popular episodes. So I would expect there to be loads of old stuff on there. Like, say hello to Linux 3.0, for example. That was back in 2011.
3 was in 2011? What?
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
No, I don't think. Things have sped up.
That's how it goes when you get old, failing.
No, it's definitely not. Oh, hang on. 2011 was 13 years ago. Shit.
Yeah, at first I thought, oh, that's only like 3 years. Oh, no, hang on. No, it's a bit longer than that. But anyway, well done, Michael, and long may it continue. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Entroware. Go to entroware.com. Entroware sells computers with Ubuntu and Ubuntu Mate pre-installed. They've got a range of desktops, laptops, and servers, and most parts are configurable, so you can pick the CPU, RAM, and storage that's right for you. If you can't find exactly what you want, then do contact them, and they'll work with you on a bespoke solution that's perfect for your needs. They ship to the UK, Republic of Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And if you do buy one of their machines, there's a little drop down at checkout, and you can select Late Night Linux so they'll know that we sent you. So go to entroware.com for all your Linux computing needs. On to a bit of admin then. First of all, thank you everyone who supports us with PayPal and Patreon. We really do appreciate that. If you want to join those people, you can go to latenightlinux.com/support. And remember that for various amounts on Patreon, you can get an advert-free RSS feed of either just this show or all the shows in the Late Night Linux family. And you even get some episodes early. And if you want to get in contact, you can email show@latenightlinux.com. Mozilla welcomes Anonym, privacy-preserving digital advertising. Now, once again, you lot are going to be negative about this, but I'm going to be positive about it. So go and get your negativity out of the way.
Well, look, I don't mean to throw mud at Mr. Smallwood there, but they are backed by Griffin Gaming Partners, Northwest Venture Partners, and Heracles Capital. I'm sure that's a company with good, down-to-earth roots, totally believing in non-profit and sustaining the anonymous advertising revenue of them all.
Well, they were founded in 2022 and backed by a shitload of VC. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad.
Okay.
They might have had a good idea. I mean, it sounds like they did have a good idea, which is to have some sort of metrics for advertisers while maintaining anonymity for the users.
I think this is a necessary evil, really, that we've talked over the years about how projects get enough money in order to run themselves. And one of the ways they do that, the primary way they do that, is through advertising. So if we expect projects to exist, not just open source, but, blogs and technical posts and things like Phoronix, for example, if they can't exist without advertising, is it better that they cease to exist, or is it better that they are able to provide adverts through an anonymous and private mechanism? And as much as it pains me to say it, I think that the correct answer here is that they should exist and they should be able to serve adverts. So it seems like a sensible plan to me.
Exactly. I mean, I would prefer no tracking at all and the adverts to be related to the content. So, you're looking at a Phoronix article, it should be advertising you, I don't know, a Linux laptop or
HyperX memory.
Yeah, for example. But advertisers want some sort of stats. They don't just want to pour money into a black hole and not know what kind of click-through rates they're getting and all the rest of it. And this anonym thing, which I'd never heard of until Mozilla bought them, sounds like a reasonable idea, at least, a reasonable way of solving that problem.
Would you consider putting adverts on the Late Night Linux website if it was served by Anonym?
Well, no, because it'd be completely fucking pointless because everyone uses an ad blocker.
Yeah.
I think that, web ads like that are just completely worthless because no one sees them.
So, another stunning purchase by Mozilla.
Okay, well, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration by me. They're not worthless, but for our audience, I think they are, because I don't think there are many of our audience not using something like uBlock Origin or Pi-hole.
Yeah.
I think there are still an awful lot of normals out there who don't use AdBlock. So it just wouldn't make sense for our site, but it would for, I don't know, a Taylor Swift blog, potentially at least.
Ultimately, I think it's a dilution of the focus that we're dreaming Firefox will find. I mean, Mozilla will find. Didn't they acquire some fake review site as well last year? And it's like, they have got this thing with privacy. They can own the privacy sphere. It's worth going for, but I'd much rather they focus on Firefox first.
But is the argument not that they need to be integrating stuff like this into Firefox and also influencing the way the web is?
Ordinarily, I would say yes. But there's so many years now of Mozilla buying companies like this and then us seeing nothing from it, that I just wonder what goes on internally. What's so screwed up that we don't see the benefits of what could potentially be a good purchase?
That's an interesting question because I haven't looked, but I don't see anywhere the results of these purchases that they've made, these acquisitions they've made. What are they contributing to the bottom line that is actually improving the state of the web and the state of Firefox? That's a good question.
Hang on, you don't see any of the acquisitions they've made. You're not looking in the top right corner again for that lovely Pocket logo. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit boring to bash them, isn't it? I'm just bored of that now. I want to see the good. I want to just pretend that it's all going to be fine.
But like you always say, it's because we care.
Yeah, tough love and all that.
Yeah.
But I do think that this seems like a reasonable thing. I'm biased because I make some of the money that I live on from ads. So I will always look for a way to do that ethically. And I think that selling ads and putting them in the podcast as me reading them out, because it's the kind of thing you'd be interested in if you're listening to a Linux podcast, I think that is ethical. I think that tracking bullshit that has profiled you and knows that you are 30-something with kids and into model trains, and therefore you just get bombarded with model train adverts, I don't think that's particularly ethical. But something like this that can somewhat anonymize your data and put a bit of white noise in there, as it were, that's got to be better than the alternative. The realistic alternative, that is, of complete tracking bullshit versus what I would love to see is like these podcasts where it's just related to the content or related to the type of demographic. If you listen to this podcast, the chances are that you are 25 to 50, let's say, and work in IT. That kind of profiling is fine, but when you get down to individuals, that's where it crosses the line. All right, Phelim, you've got a load of KDE shit. I'm not going to do the countdown thing again, which you actually smashed a few weeks ago, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Completely on time. I gave you 43 seconds or something. Anyway, the first one, 25 years of Krita.
Yeah, scary. Back in the day when GIMP was kind of its own toolkit, which didn't really bear in resemblance to anything else and wasn't used for GNOME probably or close to it, someone decided that, yeah, we need one too. And I think they've gone from strength to strength. I think it's a great project and it self-funds properly as well and is available for many different platforms. So it's cool to see. And 25 years is no small feat.
I had no idea that it was called K-Image Shop, and then they got sued and changed it to Crayon with a K, and then changed it to Krita.
Well, I think all good projects need at least 3 to 4, maybe 5 name changes before they're popular, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's time for a K-album reboot.
Thanks for remembering.
I had no idea it was so old. I feel like I only heard about it maybe, I don't know, less than 10 years ago.
To be honest, I equally didn't realise it was that old. It just seemed way too old. But yeah, maybe that is, again, the sands of time being very cruel to us all.
I think it massively took off, strangely, around the time that Adobe pivoted to the monthly subscription model.
I think you're right. And maybe, did you see Adobe's recent Creative Cloud license changes? Almost taking ownership over the content that people produce with their own subscription on Adobe's apps. And, maybe Krita is the edge of people looking and using alternatives.
Yeah, Adobe did roll that back in the end.
They did.
Yeah, it still makes you think, maybe I shouldn't be using their shit.
It's just a matter of time. I mean, their unsubscription model is is real, because I've been through it, and it's horrendous anti-pattern.
I know a dude who works in an IT department for just a random company, and he somehow sees the Adobe bill every month, and the company is paying Adobe more than him per month.
Whoa, fuck's sake.
So Krita's done really well, and we should celebrate that. And they also have found a model for making it work. Yeah,
exactly. And part of that is being in app stores, like on the Windows App Store, and charging money for it, which is a great idea. Have a website where people can get it for free as well, but charge them a few quid for the convenience of an app store and updates and everything.
Yeah, and it's also something you would, if you knew, even when you know you can get it for free, I'm happy to pay it through an app for an app store as my way of contributing. It's a pity there's a 30% cut on behalf of whoever it is who owns the app store, but still.
KDE membership, Graham, that's the way.
All right, what should KDE focus on for the next 2 years?
Yeah, so if you have an idea, if you don't have an identity account on KDE, create one and suggest something. And there is going to be a pick of that academy this year.
All right, and KDE EV is looking for a contractor to coordinate the KDE goals process. This sounds like a pretty sweet job. It's 20 hours a week, so half time. And it feels like the kind of thing that I would really like to do if I had more time.
Get a job on FOSS. It's the dream.
Yeah, exactly. Remote as well.
Yeah.
And you've also put in the KDE Apps Initiative.
Yeah, so I think kind of spurred on from some of the stuff that GNOME was doing of late. They were putting interfaces on various command line apps, things like that. One of the guys, Carl Schwann, he was saying, there's a lot of tools, a lot of libraries there available for people to design apps. And even if it is just as simple as a nice GUI on a converter for documents like the GNOME guys did recently, maybe it's something you can work on and get involved. And he was also singing the praises of how GNOME have that sort of application building toolkit. And if you don't know C++, there's work going on at the moment for Python and Rust to make those available too for development. And there's even an application on Android where you can do, I can't remember what it's called, but it's something like Kirigami Gallery or something like that, where you can essentially see all the different toolkit items that you can use to build an application from, so you know what to do. And, simple things like that. And, if you drive that forward, make it available for people to get all the things that it can possibly do. And if there's anything missing, you can fill it.
Right, well, links in the show notes as usual. We better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when it'll probably be some discoveries and stuff. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phenom.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.